Peter Valley, FBAmaster.com here. I'm giving away some gold in this one, you guys. I'm going to teach you how to manually reprice your Amazon inventory, but not just in a way where I just tell you, go here and click this and do this. I'm going to teach you a system that I've refined over a long time that allows you to efficiently reprice even large inventories manually. Everybody thinks once you get more than 100 items in your inventory, you need to sign up for automated repricing software. That's probably a good idea, but you can manually reprice with this system I'm going to teach you well in excess of 100 units and still do it pretty efficiently. So this is not the same old boring thing. Okay, let's get this out of the way. What are the three pillars, as I call them, of repricing wisdom? Okay, there are as follows. Number one, when your item is not priced competitively, it is effectively not for sale because nobody's going to see it. Number two, repricing is the highest dollar per hour revenue generating part of an Amazon business. If I told you to go spend an hour sourcing or an hour manually repricing your inventory, you make a lot more money manually repricing because you're bringing dead inventory back to life. Number three, all Amazon businesses come down to two things: sourcing inventory and repricing it. That's it. You can ignore everything else as long as you get these two things right. It's impossible to not make money. That's how important this is. So repricing is not optional. You would never hear somebody say, hey, I haven't been going out and buying inventory, sure, but I can't understand why I'm not getting sales. You would never hear somebody say that. It would be the rantings of a lunatic. But yet I've read, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of emails from sellers saying things like, well, yeah, I'm not repricing very often, but I still don't understand why I'm not getting sales. Those two things are inseparable. Repricing and getting sales are two sides of the same coin. So maybe you're using software right now to reprice your inventory and you're sitting back and you're like, why would anybody manually reprice their inventory? And you're probably best off sticking with your repricer, to be fair. But there are several reasons Amazon sellers might deliberately choose to manually reprice their inventory. Number one, again, as I said, if you have small inventory, manual repricing makes sense when you've got less than 100 items in your inventory, for sure. It doesn't make sense to invest in software when you've only got a few dozen items. Yes, manual repricing is very, very tedious. But once your inventory hits a couple hundred items, generally most people are going to try to switch over to something more automated. But the solution to manually repricing effectively and efficiently, even in excess of 100 units, is to create a multi-tiered system so that you're repricing inventory that should get your attention daily, every day, and inventory that maybe you don't need to give that much attention to repricing wise less often. So if you've got, say, 500 units in your inventory and you're like, hey, is this system I'm going to teach you, is this going to work for me? Well, the answer is yes, because I'm not going to be asking you to reprice all 500 items every single day. We'll get into that in here in a second. The number two reason somebody might choose to manually reprice is frugality. I'm honestly kind of the worst offender / best offender when it comes to frugality. I'm frugal to a fault. And obviously manually repricing is the cheapest way to reprice your inventory because it's entirely free, except it just costs you, of course, your time. So especially when you're getting started, you always want to keep your fixed costs low. So a repricer is not going to be that first round of investments I would suggest any Amazon seller make when they start selling on Amazon, right? The first thing you want to do is invest in inventory, and then maybe listing software might be number two, or there's going to be a couple items you want to invest in after inventory. But the repricer, an automated repricer, is not going to be in like the first two things I would suggest. So it makes sense that you want to put that off until you have some money coming in. Number three reason you might choose to manually reprice your inventory is the increased precision. And this is actually the best one of all. Manually repricing is the only way to actually reprice your inventory with maximum precision. The reason is the automated repricing tools, all of them except for one, we'll talk about in a second, has huge blind spots. And these are blind spots that prevent the software from actually repricing against all of your competitors. So it creates quite a conundrum because you want to streamline the process and you want to be efficient in your business, but at the same time, you don't want to leave money on the table. But unfortunately, automated repricing tools, except for one, force you to leave money on the table by way of the blind spots. And what's crazy is they don't even admit these blind spots exist. I've got whole articles and videos about these, so I'm not going to go into them, but the two of them are the FBA blind spot and one I call the bundle blind spot. Really too big a subject to get into, but I can guarantee if you're using repricing software, these blind spots are costing you money. So I suggest that you hit the link below this video. I'll put a couple links to some articles below so you can understand better what these blind spots are. But those are the three reasons that you would ever want to manually reprice your inventory. Okay, so if you fall in one of those three categories, then the rest of this video is for you. But before we get into that, the obligatory, my name is Peter Valley. If we've not been introduced, I've been selling on Amazon for over 15 years at this point. I do the website FBAmastery.com, and I got burned by a repricing tool, some software company some years ago, and they lied to me about their blind spots. And so it ended up costing me a lot lot of money. So I was forced to manually reprice my inventory because I refused to support these companies that subject me to these blind spots, all of us. And I just didn't want to lose money on these blind spots. So I manually repriced my inventory well into the thousands of units, if you can believe that. That's how big my inventory was. It was well in the thousands, and I was still manually repricing because I couldn't stand those blind spots. So that's where I'm coming from. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, head over to fbamastery.com. Link below this video. You can get all the free stuff you see here. If you do not subscribe and do not get on my email list at fbamastery.com, I will come to your house and rearrange your furniture. You can avoid this fate, all the hassles that come with it, like having to call the police and file a restraining order against me. You can avoid all that stuff by just subscribing to the YouTube channel and getting on my email list at fbamastery.com. Okay, so that's it. Are you ready? The complete, proven system refined over years on how to efficiently manually reprice your Amazon inventory. Let's get into it. Now I gotta warn you, I'm gonna go really fast. You're gonna want to take tons of notes. You're probably gonna want to hit the pause button like 15 times and write stuff down. That's totally cool. I encourage you to do it because I'm gonna cover a lot of ground really, really fast. Most people think they have to go through their entire inventory every time they reprice, but the solution that I've discovered is actually create a multi-tiered system so you're not repricing everything every day. There is certain inventory you should be repricing much less often than others, and that's one of the things I'm going to cover in this section. Now, because the data that repricing tools can see is flawed, the only data you can truly trust is what is live on the Amazon page at the moment you reprice your inventory. That's it. Which means if you're repricing your inventory, you can only use as a basis for your decisions the data that is live on Amazon at that moment. So what follows is a process I've refined over years, a manual repricing process that is based on the following understandings. Number one, that you can't reprice everything every day. And number two, you must maximize efficiency. That's what the system accomplishes. Okay, get your pens ready, you guys. This is not theory here. I'm going very, very step by step here. Okay, so everything happens on your manage pricing page. So when you click on the pricing tab inside Seller Central and then click on manage pricing, the first thing you do when you get to the manage pricing page, just like you see in the screenshot there, click the button that says active. You only want to be dealing with inventory that is actually active at this moment. Okay, that's step number one. But you haven't finished prepping the page yet. The second thing I want you to do is head over to the upper right-hand corner of the manage pricing page. You'll see a button or a tab that says preferences. I want you to click that. That will take you to the preferences page. You're going to see here towards the top, right what you see here in the screenshot, where it says column display. I want you to check the boxes next to these items and these items only. Check the box next to sales rank, price, lowest price, available, product name, and status. Okay? Those are 6 boxes I want you to check. Those are the only columns I want to be visible going forward. There are other columns that have some value, but I don't want the page to be cluttered. We're just going to focus on what is mandatory right now to effectively reprice your inventory. Okay? Okay, now I want you to scroll down on the preferences page. Now you're going to see a bunch more settings towards the bottom. I want you to leave everything at the default setting. Okay? The only exception is the sort order. Now, this is not a huge deal if you think you're going to be able to reprice all of your inventory in one swoop, but if there's any risk that you're not going to be able to get through all your inventory every single day, then I want you to choose in the sort order, I want you to choose either old to new or price high to low. And I don't have a strong preference as to which one you choose, just pick one. There's pros and cons to each. Obviously, old to new is going to allow you to like focus on inventory that's older that you want to kind of get out the door. And price high to low allows you to focus on your high value inventory first. Just pick whichever one you prefer. And the very last step in prepping the page, I want you to scroll down and look for where it says fulfillment by Amazon or fulfillment by merchant, right under the default filter options. I want you to set that to fulfilled by merchant, even if you're an FBA seller. Now, what this means is you're telling Amazon, hey, Amazon, when you tell me whether or not I have the lowest price, compare me to fulfilled by merchant offers only. Now, I know it seems kind of weird if you're an FBA seller. You think you're only competing with FBA offers, but bear with me. This will all become clear in a second. And you will be coming back to change this if you're an FBA seller once we get a couple steps down the road here. And now we're at step number 2. Now, this is where, and I know I told you this is going to be very step-by-step, very tactical, but we have to get this out of the way because it's going to define what comes next. You've got to plot your outcome. So what I mean by that, I want you to ask yourself this question. Do you want maximum profits or maximum efficiency? What is your priority with your repricing? Do you want at all costs to go for get the maximum amount you can for each unit in your inventory, or is efficiency more important? Basically, what are you lacking most? Money or time? That's how you're going to answer this question. So if profits matter above all else, then the process we're going to follow going forward is to analyze every single item in your inventory and reprice every single item in your inventory. If efficiency is more important, you're going to analyze anything that you're not the lowest price for and then ignore the rest. Okay, the next question I want you to ask yourself is, can you realistically reprice all of your inventory every single day? Now, this is going to be defined largely not just on how much time you have, but how big your inventory is. So if the answer is no, I want you to create a tier system, which I'll cover in a second. The answer is yes, you're going to reprice everything. This question is pretty important, so you want to get really clear on this. Now, if you decide you cannot realistically reprice all of your inventory every single day, then you must create a tier system. Now, you can kind of mold this any way you want, but I'm going to give you an example, and this is how I do it. I create three tiers. Okay, so there's lower demand items, which I reprice daily. Then medium demand items, I reprice them when I can. And high demand items, I reprice less often. And if they're really high demand, I pretty much ignore them altogether. Now, this might seem kind of counterintuitive. You're probably thinking, like, why would you reprice a lower demand item every single day? Why are you giving your attention to lower demand items and then giving less attention to higher demand items? And the reason is this: higher demand items, it oftentimes doesn't matter how often you reprice them. They're going to sell no matter what. If an item is selling multiple units a day, guess what? You might be underpriced by 5 people right now, but by 8 p.m., you could be the lowest price, or by tomorrow. And then you might get underpriced by 6 other people. And then you wait another day and all of a sudden you're lowest price again. So it just doesn't really matter that much. And the more high demand an item is, the less you can give it attention and still be sure it's going to sell. Now with lower demand items, it's the opposite. You want to be the next sale. So when I say low demand, I mean like when you're getting into the millions in terms of sales rank, like you want to be sure you are the next sale. So you must be optimizing those prices every single day. So those are for the sales ranks in the millions. High demand items, you might just say, you can draw the line however you want, but let's just say super roughly 100,000 or better. And then for medium demand, we can just say 100,000 to $1 million. So that'd be some good, like super rough guidelines to go by. Now, I gave you a couple questions you have to answer before we go to the step 3 here, but I don't want you to stress over like you've got to get them right. Sometimes there is no right answer. So just take your best guess. You can iterate over time. Don't stress out about it. Okay, this is where things start to pick up a little bit. Okay, so we know our outcome. Step number 3 is I want you to go through and reprice all your low demand inventory to sell as soon as possible. Okay, so remember back in the beginning when we were preparing the page and I told you to set the fulfillment method to merchant fulfilled even if you're an FBA seller? Here's why. The step number 3 here, where we're actually going to start repricing our inventory, is to start with the low demand inventory that you want to sell fast. Okay, so I want you to look for every single item where you must be the next sale. Now, here's the deal. This is going to vary based on sellers. This is kind of subjective here. If I had to give you a very rough estimate as to a guideline to go by, I would say any item ranked 1 million or worse, meaning a higher number, focus on those items right now and price those to sell. And what that means is I want you to go through and click match price for every single item where you're not the lowest. Okay, so you see the screenshot on the screen there. See in the right-hand column where it says lowest price? For all your inventory that's ranked 1 million or worse, and again, this is subjective. You can do 1.2 million, you can do 800,000 or 1.5, whatever you want to do. Every single item where you don't have the checkbox that says lowest, click match price. Now, it's not always going to be that simple because you're going to see some prices there where the prices drop so much you're just not willing to part with the item at that price. So it's okay to ignore those, but just keep in mind, you're not going to get a sale anytime soon. You're not going to get a sale until you are the lowest price. Because with low demand items, there's not enough buyers coming along to justify you being second, third, or fourth in line, right? You need to be the lowest price to get that sale. This is less true for other, higher demand items, but for the low demand items, that's just the reality. Okay, so go through every page of inventory and click match price. And then when you get done, make sure on each page, of course, hit save all to save the page, advance to the next page until you're done repricing all of your low demand inventory. Now, what we just did is the most basic part of repricing, which is keeping those low demand items price optimized because those are the ones that are most important. That's the inventory that could potentially languish forever if you're not repricing it daily. So weirdly, even though these are the lower demand items, this is the highest yield part of the repricing process. Okay, now that we've taken care of lower demand inventory, which is always the first step, now we move on to step number 4, which is to reprice everything else. Now, I got to pause really quick. If you're an FBA seller, you have to pay attention to this. This is an important step. If you're an FBA seller, I want you to go back to the preferences page. Remember how I told you to set by default to fulfilled by merchant? Now you're going to switch that setting to fulfilled by Amazon. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're telling the manage pricing page, only compare to other FBA offers. So now we want to see if we're the lowest price compared to FBA offers only, not merchant fulfilled. If you're an FBA seller, if it's an item that's not super low demand, you're only competing with FBA sellers. This is just basic pricing strategy, okay? So I'm going to reset that setting to fulfilled by Amazon. Okay, now you've done that, hit save, go back to manage pricing page. We're going to pick up where we left off. Okay, remember I asked you to answer the question if you want maximum efficiency or maximum profits? Okay, so if you chose maximum efficiency, what I want you to do is click the title for every single, I say book here, but whatever your inventory is, for every single inventory item where you're not the lowest, and decide if you should lower. So you click over to Amazon, you review the offers you're competing against and decide if you should lower your price, okay? Okay, now if you chose maximum profits, you're gonna click over and look at Amazon for every single item in your inventory, okay? So for every item where you're marked lowest, you currently have the lowest price, you're gonna click over and look for opportunities to raise your price. And if you're not the lowest, you're gonna click over and decide if you should lower your price. Now this kind of goes without saying, but when you click over and you're reviewing the other competing offers that you're pricing against, you need to click the prime box and the little pop out that appears. So you click over, if the item's used, you click the used offers. If the item's new, you click the new offers, and you click the prime box. So you're only reviewing other FBA sellers, and that's all you're competing against right now, okay? So it's an extra step. It's kind of annoying, but it is necessary. And all you're doing now is you're just repricing according to your pricing formula, right? I can't teach you a pricing formula because everyone's got their own formula, but whatever yours is, now that you've got competing offers in front of you, you can make a decision about whether you want to lower your price, raise it, exactly how you want to set the price. And then, of course, you just enter the price you choose in the pricing field and save each item as you reprice it. Or just wait until you get to the end of the page and save your prices with one click by clicking the Save All button at the top of the page. Okay, so is it as simple as this? Is just looking at the offers you're competing against and making a decision? Well, there's other data you can consider as well. And that's where Keepa comes in. So people kind of wonder, because Keepa is like so many different things. So people always wonder, like, what the heck do I even use Keepa for? What I use Keepa for primarily is repricing my inventory. This is its primary function in my world. I don't rely on it much at all when I'm sourcing, but man, do I rely on it when I'm manually repricing. Okay, so since Keepa is a million different things, let's narrow it down to the top three that matter the most. Number one is the pricing history charts. This is for low demand books, and if you're a merchant fulfilled seller, this allows you to see what the price fluctuations are, because it's not so good. Keepa's not so great at tracking FBA pricing history, but it's very good with merch fulfilled. So this allows you to look at the pricing history. Again, if it's a low demand item, this kind of matters because it might be low demand because the price is just higher than the market can bear. So if you have a low demand item and let's just say it's like selling for $70 right now and you think that's a good price, but it's not selling, you might check the pricing history and go, oh, actually, wow. On average, this book is only selling for $10. So maybe that's a hint that you should drop the price or not. It's up to you. Sales rank history, very, very important. Now, unfortunately, the sales rank history is behind a paywall. So you have to pay to access sales rank history. In my opinion, it's absolutely worth it. I think it comes to like $15 a month. You would pay in euros, but whatever the conversion is now, it's about $15 a month, $17 a month. Absolutely worth it. And then stock quantity. So that's where Keepa tells you how many units do the sellers you're competing against have in stock, because you might think only one offer needs to sell out and you're next in line. It turns out maybe they've got 10 in stock. So 10 have to sell out before you're next in line. Those will result in completely different repricing decisions. So that's really important information. Strongly recommend you get the paid version of Keepa. Again, it pays for itself so quickly. Now, the only other paid tools I would recommend that will save you a massive amount of time, there's a couple out there that allow you to hover over the sales rank column in the managed pricing page, or sorry, the price column rather, and bring up a pop-up that shows you the lowest 5 FBA used and new, as well as merch fulfilled used and new in some cases. There's, like I said, a couple tools out there. It saves you a couple clicks, which amounts to a massive amount of time when you're repricing hundreds of items. Basically, these tools prevent you from having to click over to Amazon for every single item. So again, saves you a massive amount of time. Highly recommended. And finally, when you've decided the optimal price for every single item in your inventory, at least on a page-by-page basis, before you advance to the next page, click the Save All button at the top. That locks in those prices and makes them go live. Okay, so we're not done yet. Arguably, the most important part is what's next, but let's recap what we just learned. We just outlined a multi-tiered process for efficiently repricing your inventory. But what if there was a solution to get the precision of manual repricing with the automation of repricing software? Well, you guys, I built a tool to do exactly that. It is called NeuroPrice. Now, by all means, you can keep repricing manually. I gave you a complete roadmap to do exactly that. But if you decide that's too tedious and you want to ramp up your efficiency dramatically, I built NeuroPrice to offer the precision of manually repricing with the automation of repricing software. It is the only automated repricing tool in 3 categories. Number 1, it has no FBA blind spots whatsoever. Number 2, it's the only tool that allows you to reprice against the second and third lowest offer. And number 3, it works directly inside Amazon, directly on the Amazon Seller Central managed pricing page. So I'm going to put a link at the top of this video right now. You can start a 14-day free trial. NeuroPrice is quite simply the biggest advantage advancement in repricing tools since the repricer was invented. It is the world's first augmented repricer that works directly on the Amazon page. Everything you need is included, and it works on any single computer. 14-day free trial, and I say free means free. It takes 60 seconds to sign up. One-click install. You can click the link below this video right now to get started on the free trial, and you can literally be repricing in seconds. So click the link below this video, start the free trial right now. It really is the best of what we just learned, with none of the bad stuff, which is none of the time investment of having to spend all the time manually repricing. It's basically an automated manual repricer, if that makes sense. It does everything that manual repricing can do, but it automates it. So you simply tell NeuroPrice what to do, and it automates it directly on the Amazon page. No other repricer has ever worked like this. So here's what we learned in this video, guys. Repricing is the highest dollar per hour revenue generating part of your Amazon business. When your item is not competitively priced, it is effectively not for sale at all. That's how important repricing is. All Amazon businesses come down to two things: sourcing and pricing. So with this understanding, you guys, you're now armed for battle. You have a system to put these principles into practice, and an automated repricer if you choose to go that route at neuroprice.io. So you now have a 4-part mission. Are you ready? Mission number 1, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Mission number 2, head over to fbamaster.com, get all the free stuff you see here, get on my email list. You can build a whole business off of what I give away for free. Mission number 3, start your free trial at neuroprice.io. And lastly, take what you learned in this video and put it into practice. Go make money with it. That's it, you guys. Peter Valley signing off, and I'll see you in the next video.